Destruction. The age of the warrior begins now.
In the heart of forgotten towns, where the streets were cracked and overgrown, abandoned houses held secrets long erased from memory. These homes, once bustling with laughter, warmth, and life, now stood silent. Their doors hanging from broken hinges, windows shattered, curtains moth-eaten and blackened by decades of neglect. Yet inside, a revelation awaited. Old cameras, untouched by time, perched like sentinels on crumbling tables, atop dusty mantles and on rotting shelves. They recorded a world no one dared to speak of. The first thing that strikes a historian, or even the casual observer, when discovering such relics is the unnerving intimacy of the footage. Grainy, flickering images of families, parties, meals, and birthdays at first seem benign, but slowly, a pattern emerges. Faces frozen in terror, shadows that do not belong, and moments of panic and despair captured in imperfect motion. The camera becomes a silent witness to the unspeakable. The lives that once were. These homes tell stories of ordinary people caught in extraordinary circumstances. Children laughing in the kitchen one moment, parents smiling for the lens, and then suddenly the camera catches it. The flash of fear in a child's eyes, the nervous glance of a mother, the rigid posture of a father. Something unseen approaches just beyond the frame, and the very air of the room seems to thicken. These are not staged moments. These are glimpses into lives being torn apart by forces unrelenting and invisible to the untrained eye. Shadows of violence. It is within these abandoned walls that the brutality of the past comes to life. Footage shows shadowy figures creeping through hallways, the faint glimmer of weapons held with trembling hands, doors rattling in the wind or under the force of someone or something pushed. Sometimes the cameras capture screams that were never recorded elsewhere. They echo unnervingly through the empty rooms, leaving the viewer's heart racing even decades later. The haunting of everyday life. What is most disturbing is the ordinariness of these scenes. A father reading by candlelight, a child playing with a toy soldier, a grandmother knitting by the fire. These should be timeless, benign images. Yet, when juxtaposed with the sudden intrusion of violence, famine, or disease, they become harrowing. The cameras preserve the fragility of life, the thin veneer of safety that once existed, and the terrifying swiftness with which it was stripped away. Historians who analyze these homes often find subtle clues. Scratched floors where someone struggled, broken furniture indicating forced entry, and personal belongings abandoned mid-use. Cameras catch fleeting shadows that historians cannot identify. Objects appear in places where they could not have been placed intentionally. Even decades later, these images leave experts questioning whether they are witnessing human acts, supernatural phenomena, or the unrecorded consequences of societal collapse.
Fire. Destruction. The age of the warrior.
Silent witnesses to epidemics and starvation. Many abandoned homes tell stories of plague and famine. Cameras capture families rationing scraps of bread, children lying listless in hallways, parents performing grim tasks to preserve life, burying the dead just beyond the door, keeping their own fear in check. Some recordings show entire households succumbing one by one. Others capture desperate attempts to flee the city, only to return to find neighbors and relatives gone. War and siege. Abandoned houses often date to periods of war. Soldiers, refugees, and militias passed through these homes, leaving scars not visible in architecture alone. The cameras reveal the tension of occupation. Families watching from windows, recording secret signs for approaching armies, documenting raids on their own homes to preserve evidence of atrocities. Broken doors, bloodied walls, and hastily abandoned possessions tell a story of cities under siege, where life and death were constant companions. The psychological terror captured. What sets these cameras apart from other historical records is their intimate portrayal of human fear.
Fire. Destruction. The age of the warrior begins now.
Diaries, letters, and official accounts can describe events, but they cannot preserve the split-second panic, the unspoken dread or the silent terror etched onto faces. In dim hallways and candlelit rooms, the cameras record the subtle twitch of an eye, a trembling hand, a hasty glance toward an unseen threat. These fragments of history reveal the human psyche under pressure and the enduring imprint of trauma. In many ways, these abandoned cameras function as confessional witnesses. They do not judge or narrate. They merely record. And in doing so, they preserve truths that written history often omits. The fear of being left behind, the horror of witnessing loved ones disappear, the despair of watching civilization crumble from within, the horror made tangible. In some towns, entire neighborhoods vanished, leaving only cameras behind. When recovered, these devices captured final, unspeakable moments. Neighbors turning on neighbors, frantic scavenging, families barricading themselves to escape marauders, and the omnipresent shadow of death in every frame. Cinematic impact and educational use. For educational purposes, these findings offer a visceral entry into the past. They show students, historians, and viewers alike that history is not abstract, it is lived, suffered, and recorded in moments of profound vulnerability. Every frame can be analyzed for social, cultural, and psychological context, making them a powerful tool for teaching empathy, resilience, and historical awareness. If you want to uncover more brutal truths, haunting histories, and lessons from the shadows of our past, share this story, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications. History's forgotten witnesses demand to be heard.
Fire. Destruction. The age of the warrior begins now.